On today's video, I'm going to be
Just
fixing
get
the
to the
tank.
point.
Shut up.
You shut up.
You shut up. What happened to your voice?
What happened to your voice?
Your voice. Shut up. Anyway, we're going to be fixing the tank on my Ducati.
Was there ever another good option?
Yeah, there was another option. Maybe not fix it.
I'm happy to see that you always have a plan.
Yeah, let's just let it air out and we'll come back to it in a couple of days. First, let's remove the paint on the dent. And now with no paint, I'm going to go ahead and start stop welding the dent. This is the tricky part. Here, you have to start pulling, but you have to understand and I guess predict a little bit of when the studs are about to come out so that you don't leave a lot of holes in your tank. But, you know, it's possible, and it actually happened to me multiple times. Right here, there's a little bit of a dent going down to the bottom of the tank, so I'm also removing the paint just so we can get ready. And I'm going to repeat the process. In here, I'm actually pretty successful at cutting the studs before they get, I guess, detached from the metal. So I was able just to grind the metal down instead of having to deal with the actual holes that, the other stud welds, left on the tank. I want to be careful and I don't want to cut myself. But essentially, let's just make this a little bit rougher. A good job in the sense of kind of trying to get rid of most of the rough areas and some of the areas that I was actually able to remove the stud before it broke and left a hole in the tank. So now I'm just gonna make it a little bit rougher, and we're gonna concentrate on this area where I can put all the welding. I mean, that's just gonna be like essentially just like you're working with Bundo, and then you can come back and then just give it a shape. And then once I feel comfortable that everything is being covered, the areas where the holes are, I'm gonna go ahead and then just put some either water and try to like lean it to the left, or maybe fuel, and we can just leave it overnight to see if it's going to be leaking. If it's leaking, then we redo it again, and we just kind of go from there, I guess. Now you can see the area. So it's clean, specifically in the middle or those crevices, where the metal is kind of a little bit mangled. So I feel good about that. So now what I can do is just to cover all of this area, but primarily just giving, I'm going to clean it up, and then I'm going to put the steel stick in the actual holes, and I might extend it to the area surrounding the holes, but I'm just going to focus primarily on the holes. Okay, I'm going to clean it up with alcohol. All right, so earlier I was talking about me wanting to weld my tank, and I know my welding situation is not the best. And I guess what I'm trying to say is this is aluminum, if I'm not mistaken. So I only have an arc, kind of cheap, welding machine from Harbor Freight. But I thought that with the ethos of my channel being, hey, kind of doing your stuff at home, blah, blah, blah. So not everybody, I'm not Adam LZ or any other big YouTuber for that matter, where they have an actual shop. So I do not have the funds nor the skills. I mean, I can probably just weld a bunch of holes, and then I can just simply, grind them, and it's gonna come out good. So I'm pretty confident about that. I don't want to miss this opportunity, and then you just be using something that's something anyone can get access to, especially if you don't have the skills, but you are at the very least just willing to spend the time, kind of doing this. So I know a lot of people talk about, is it worth to do yourself because of the time you're spending? I mean, these are skills that I'm gaining. These are like stuff that I'm doing that I'm not by any means just feeling like I'm wasting my time, nor I'm valuing, the time that I'm spending doing this. So, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the video, but essentially I've been thinking about actually getting a tank from eBay. So if you look on eBay right now, actually I'm gonna do it, and maybe I'll just put it on the video so you guys can see it on the screen. Like there's a bunch of tanks And then a few of them are like, oh my god, so horribly fixed. Maybe like the fix that I'm doing right now. Some other ones are in perfect condition from a paint perspective, super clean inside, everything. And but those are going for like $1,000, and I paid that. I didn't pay that much for this bike because I wanted to do some stuff to it, and there was some, I guess, stuff that I wanted to do. Long story short, it doesn't make any sense. And then the ones that are in very bad shape, they're not cheap to a point where I might take advantage. I mean, I might take those up as an opportunity to, instead of fixing mine, I'll just have a spare one, blah blah blah, something like that. And that's not the case. It's just horrible. I mean, they're very bad, and like they have like very bad fixes, so it didn't make any sense. So all right. So I don't know if you have dealt with this before. You saw what I did, very similar to the way you manage handle epoxy. It's a two-part, so there's two parts within this stick, and you just have to kind of get them in your hand, or maybe a board or whatever, and then just make sure that they're thoroughly mixed together, and that's how you get the fusion, I guess, to happen. And this will become like, I guess it's called tank weld or steel stick, because it sticks to metal and it almost becomes like metal. Like I'm going to hit it when it's hard, when it hardens, and you're gonna see how crazy the sound is. It almost sounds like I'm doing this right here. Super crazy. So anyhow, all right, so I'm spreading this out, and this is not gonna be the only time you're gonna see me doing this, because I really, really want to make sure that these, cover the holes. And I want to be thorough also because I'm going to be painting over, and I don't want fumes being able to go outside, I mean, of the existing holes, because that's just gonna make my job, my paint job, very bad. But you know what? Let's just give it a try, and hopefully, and there was no holes in some areas, but there was like deep grooves that were in here. This is also going to help us to avoid using, how do you call it, more Bondo, and we can use more of this, which is better, and it's also going to be providing a surface that I can paint over. But anyhow, we're going to be using, a little bit of Bondo and maybe that putty, so we're going to be okay. All right, so I'm getting closer to the place where I want to be. All right, so now you can see it closer. It looks horrible, but then I'm just gonna leave it hardening, and then it's just gonna be perfect to the point where we're gonna be able to sand it. You're gonna see it, the surface becoming more and more flat, and then we're going to maybe put some water in the tank, but with the tank flipped to the side, and kind of ensuring that the water is collecting here, and then just leaving it, for some time. And if it doesn't leak, we can continue working on it, and eventually the test is going to be putting fuel and doing the same exercise, or maybe just fuel inside so the fumes are trying to come out, and see if we get some situation here where that's happening. So all right, cool. This cure's pretty easy, but I'm not gonna go back to touch it for a few hours. So I'm just gonna come back later, and then we're just gonna sand it. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and focus on the other dents that are around the tank before I start stripping all the paint. My biggest concern right now with the tank is the fact that I want to make sure that it's completely sealed, meaning if I put any liquid, is it gonna come out? Is it gonna go through any of the holes that were left from the stop welding process to pull the dent? As a reminder, I chose to do this process because I wanted, for the ethos of this channel, I want to, hey, I have a welder, but it's an arc welder, so it's probably not the best option for this type of material, but it's gonna work. And I can probably just patch some holes and then pressurize the tank, and chances are it's gonna work, and I can just make it look pretty. But what if you don't have this opportunity and the only thing you have handy it's a tank weld or a steel stick from JB Weld? So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go through this process and see if it works. So in addition to that, it's important to me that if you're using that, something that I have in the back of my head is the fact that I can probably make it look better or perfect and maybe not leak or see any fuel coming out of the holes. But there's still the possibility that I'm not seeing something here that it's telling me, hey, Richard, there's fumes wanting to come out of a hole that's still on the tank that is not being covered by JB Weld. So if something like that were to happen, if I paint the tank, you're going to see some bubbling because the fumes are going to want to come out of this way, and it's not going to be able to, I mean, it's going to be expanding and then just going to be pushing the paint out. So something like that were to happen, it's going to suck because I'm going to have to redo the tank again. But hey, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to take it as a learning opportunity. So I'm not gonna go crazy, about whether or not it's gonna work. So I'm just gonna do the best I can to do a couple tests to see if this is indeed, sealed. So I'm going to try to pressurize the tank, but right now my initial test is going to be leaning the tank to the left, and maybe tilt it forward, in a way where I can see if I can put some water inside of the tank without necessarily touching, fuel pump or whatnot. So I'm going to have it lean forward, and I'm just going to leave it overnight with some water resting on this area. After multiple tests, what I'm doing here right now is just ensuring that I don't have any leaks from the area that I cover with the JB Weld. So I'm going to be resting the tank like this, and I'm going to be filling out the tank with water all the way up to that fill line before I start coming out of the actual hole from the fuel tank, so that I can confirm that there's no leaks. And once I'm able to confirm that, after a couple days, there's no leaks or anything coming out, I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with continuing, working on the tank so that I can get it ready for paint. So after confirming that water actually did not make it out from the JB Weld that I fixed on the front of the tank, I started looking inside of the tank, and it looked kind of rusty. Like, I can tell that it's surface rust. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and remove the fuel filter and the fuel pump so that I can get some vinegar inside and leave it resting for a few days so that I can clean it up entirely. So I removed the gauge level sender for the fuel sender at the front, and I'm going to get the actual tank ready just so I can put some vinegar inside with water and leave it resting like that. So while I'm prepping all of that, I continue just to making progress. So I took some measurements just to confirm, where the new decal is going to go whenever the tank is ready. And at this point, it's just a waiting game. I'm just going to put it on, and I'm going to show. You're seeing it's all the vinegar and water after sitting inside of the tank for 4 days. So I can explain how clean the tank was after, draining all that water. It's incredible. You see all that rust? I did not do anything other than just leaving the tank resting with the vinegar inside. So I'm going to show you some before and after pictures so you can see how disgusting it was. And I was, happy to see that, it was just surface rust and nothing. This is what I saw when the vinegar was resting inside of the tank for a couple days. This is me kind of spotting throughout the day. This is the picture that I took before I saw the condition inside of the tank that actually motivated me to do the whole kind of exercise with vinegar. And this is the after, once the vinegar was inside of the tank for 4 days, and even without scrubbing or anything, you can tell that the whole rust actually disappeared. The top layer at the top, that's just because it's not coated right now, so it always kind of gets a little bit of a surface rust, but something, even rag that I can just like swipe the inside of the tank should be able to take that out of the way. All right, so this is where the tank is at right now. So you can tell I've been, putting a lot of work. So this one looks horrible, but this is going to get better whenever we put some Bondo on it. I just tested it for a couple days and it's not leaking anymore. And now I just removed the areas, the paint on the areas where, I had some either high spots or low spots that I'm going to be fixing with some Bondo, and also remove the whole clear layer so that I can start working on it and I can have paint sticking to it, and primer and everything right now. So super excited to get it back on the bike. So now we're making progress and getting to that point. So in the next video, I'm going to be working on finalizing this. I'll walk you through the process, and hopefully this is going to be getting you excited so that you can do this at home if you feel that your tank needs a little bit of a help, and you can probably do it at home with not a whole lot of money. So, all right, cool. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll talk to you in a couple of days.